Before we get started, remember this is just an opinion piece and is not meant to reflect the viewer or anybody else's opinion other than the channel owners themselves. If you would like to comment on the topic, do so below in the comment section. Just remain respectful. Thank you.
These last couple of days, we've got lots of great pictures coming in from Instagram user Pseudomain, who has a really great photography page on Facebook, but he's really more active on Instagram. He's at Pseudomain. Go ahead and follow him because really all these images have been coming from him and they've been going around the internet, and not everybody's been crediting him, but he really deserves all the credit for these photos because he's the first to show us in really high def images structure, the scale, the detailing, and now the transformation on the Commander class Ultra Magnus figure from Transformers Studio Series 86. So now, here's the thing. He already showed us what it looked like in alt mode, and it very clearly shows a lot better where the hinges are. So you can kind of guess from previous experiences you have of Ultra Magnus where all the parts go. So none of these is super new, but a lot of them have been changed around and everything. Just basically, there's just a few simple ways you can do Ultra Magnus and do it pretty well. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people have been complaining about proportion and arm distance and bulk, etc., etc. And I think there are ways that this can be achieved differently that haven't been done by this figure, but that's not to say that I don't like this figure at all. I'm just saying that if you wanted to achieve a more slender Ultra Magnus, which I think a lot of people are gunning for, there is a way to do that. But that's obviously not what these engineers wanted to do at this time. They wanted a big, bulky, tall Ultra Magnus, and I really think they were able to achieve this. Now, some people might be going, X, weren't you like against this figure at one point? No, if you watch that video, I kept saying I like the figure, I like it. It's not what I hoped it would be. I was hoping for a 4-mode Ultra Magnus for the Commander class price point, and I don't 100% see yet how it's a Commander class price point, but just taking into account the figure itself, I like it. I love it a lot. In fact, I already know that this is going to be overtaking a lot of Ultra Magnus figures in my tier list, because my tier list does not include price point. It just includes whether or not a figure is good. And I actually like this figure. There's a lot of it that really caters to that desire of mine to have a proper Ultra Magnus figure that goes with the rest of the Transformers generations figures that we've gotten since Siege. And this really fulfills a lot of those boxes that need to be checked, if you know what I mean. So if you look at this Ultra Magnus image right here in his alt mode, you can already see where the hinges are. So there's a inner hinge right in front, which splits the cab into two separate places. Some people have pointed out the windshield is a bit too high up, and I kind of agree. They could have made those windshields taller. As you can see here, in comparison with Earthrise, they do seem a bit small and squat and kind of high up. Not sure why they chose to do that, but I do think it has to do with whatever's on the other side, which is the hinge. And you see kind of where the hinges also fold on the pillars themselves that kind of hold up the upper part of the trailer. So you already have an idea how it's going to separate. And as we can see here, okay, so we've got the alt mode. Essentially, just imagine that it's stood up and the blue flaps on the sides have been splayed out. All blue parts that you could splay out have been splayed out. As you can see there on the top part where the shoulder would be, that's been splayed out. You can also see that the section on the upper thighs has a blue section that can also be hinged downwards. And right in front of it are the red sections where the floor of the truck bed would be. Then you fold those down as well. This one is interesting to me. This is, I feel like, a new way of doing it, because we've seen Octane do kind of the same thing with a flat truck bed, which was very impressive, but they did it the other way around. It came from the feet, but this time it's coming from a hinge on the upper thigh. So those things basically fold down on the thighs to show you the robot leg, which is really impressive. And as you can see, the underwear portion, so to speak, the white bit there, which is the T section, is also just kind of on a hinge, and you'd be pulling that down as well. So in the next photo, you've seen that the underwear technically has been pulled down, and the red sections on the hinges on the thighs and the blue sections as well have been pushed down as well, and then the whole foot section was just moved G1 style to form the feet. Very, very simplistic. Like I keep telling everyone, it's very simple transformation. There's no complexity whatsoever to this, and it's beautifully elegant. Nobody has, you don't have to do this in such a complicated manner that it becomes an interesting transformation just for the sake of it. You can absolutely do this and still make it look good by being very simplistic about it. Now, as you can see, the top parts of the trailer, you basically just swing them around like the masterpiece version, and also like the octane version and the new age version. You kind of swing them around and combine them so that you can form the upper pillars of the hands. And as you can see here, he's begun to splay out the truck mode as well. And in the next photo, he's gonna turn everything around so he can show us that that white truck just basically splits, so that back part of the cab essentially becomes the front of the chest, and that white section just collapses in on itself, as you can see. So the wheels collapsed in, and then the doors, or where the walls where the doors would have been, will collapse outward, and everything just kind of folds in on itself. As you can see, the butt flap also is pushed downwards. But in this case, unlike the MP, this butt flap is aesthetic. It does form part of the robot mode in a good way. This is one of those butt flaps that isn't there just because, butt flap. This is part of the armor. And as you can see, there you go. Nicely compressed tab at the back. And you can see that the butt flap is part of the armor, and it's not just there because it's there. Now you can see, I just wanted to really quickly mention, I like that they're going with clear light piping on here instead of just straight up blue, so that you have got clear light piping and blue light piping inside, which forms the eyes. And you can see that there's a couple of red panels up there left. Just watch those because he's gonna fold them down later. Now let's come around to the front again. As you can see here, the back of the cab becomes the front of the robot mode. Arm guards open up in a similar fashion to Siege and Kingdom, actually, but at the same time with accordion hinges, so that they would come up on the arms. And as you can see, there you go. It comes up on the arms. The missiles are now reattached after you're done with all of the transforming. And the red flaps on the top just kind of fold down to fill in all of the details. So that's really nice and elegant. I love the transformation. It's pretty much as expected. Nothing surprising. It's just a combination of things that we've seen before, but this time done in such a way that it works for pretty much an upper leader class size figure, which for me works really, really well. Now, keep in mind, there's a few things that are special about this figure as well. As you can note, the light piping in the back was white, but the light piping in the front is blue. Now, there's a few things that are also of note. The chest cavity is made of clear plastic. I'm not talking about the T, the blue T, because that blue T, by the way, let me just show you this quick video also from Pseudomain. If you flip up that blue T, that whole chest just springs open to reveal the portion of the chest that stores the matrix of leadership. Now, it's still up for debate right now if it's the exact same matrix of leadership mold, but TBH doesn't really matter because it's pretty much the same size. And this whole cab section also, we know how it's removable, yeah? So as you can see, essentially the entire front chest, head, and backpack of Ultra Magnus, that's what gets removed if we remove the white cab entirely. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting figure. It's well done. It's definitely going to be taking the place of a lot of figures. Here you can also see in the official Transformers images from Takara, you can also see that this is the way it kind of separates. There's just a square hinge joint. It's not exactly a Combiner Wars port, It is similar though, but it's not a combiner war sport. You can separate the legs and the arms using these square pegs here on the side of the shoulders and also on the upper thigh. So if you wanted to recreate that scene where Ultra Magnus gets blown up by Galvatron and company, then that's how you do that. I don't think that's super necessary, but it's still cool, in terms of play value. So I'll give it that. Also from Pseudomain, we were able to see what the truck cab looks like. Here it is in comparison with Earthrise Optimus Prime. But it's not the exact same truck bed. I just wanted to show you guys. He was able to also show us that the truck bed is a lot slimmer. It sits a lot lower than a lot of the standard. Okay, so if you guys collect the trucks, you'll know that there's a bit of a standard in terms of how high the truck beds go. For some reason, they tend to work out that most of them have kind of the same height, and if you wanted to put trailers on them, they'd work. But this one doesn't entirely. Definitely not a 4-mode Ultra Magnus, because this is not meant for the cab to sit separately from the car carrier. As you can see, the whole back section is entirely red. You basically can't display it on its own. It's meant to go with its car carrier, and I can respect that. A lot of people have been saying that Studio Series 86 is meant to really reflect the movie and the animation, and okay, I'll give it that. Definitely. Sure. But now let's say what if Perfect Effect or KBB wanted to come in and do an Optimus Prime figure that would go with this series. Now again, the white cab portion would basically form the entire chest cavity, the head, and the back section of Ultra Magnus, in Commander class. So what they'd have to do is build an Optimus Prime figure that has a really low truck bed in comparison as well. So maybe they can make up for that in the back of the truck in terms of transforming Optimus Prime. I'm not really sure how that would work. But to be honest, I'd like it to be that one day Hasbro would just give us a good enough Ultra Magnus that's maybe not Studio Series, maybe Legacy, that is a 4-mode Ultra Magnus. Like, because this one, finally we're getting the right 2-mode Ultra Magnus. We're still waiting for the right 4-mode Ultra Magnus, which, basically recalls both the toy and the show as well. Not that we're not satisfied, it's just that, I mean, yes, I guess we are. It's just that Ultra Magnus is just one of those figures, as well as Springer, I just realized, that haven't really been done justice in terms of, Team Ultra Magnus or Team Hot Rod, and much of the G1. Will I be picking up this figure? Absolutely, you guys. I'll be first in line. You guys know me. This is Ultra Magnus. And while I complain about the price point and whatever, at the end of the day, I'm still an Ultra Magnus fan. I can still appreciate everything that the Hasbro team has done to make this a really fun figure, and I'm excited to have it in hand. And this is definitely, I don't have it on hand yet, but it's going to basically be sitting next to my Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus to lead one of my 2 Ultra Magnus teams. Anyway, this has been X_Paco. Again, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at X_Paco. And a lot of these photos, aside from the ones that Takara had, these are from at Pseudomain on IG. Go ahead and follow him as well. Like this page and hit the bell icon for more notifications, okay? Well, thank you so much for watching. This has been X's Toy Universe.